All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Beggars Canyon Boys. This is episode 22. I'm Jackson here, as always, with my special guest, Darth Ryan. And what are we talking about today? This is a little grab bag. We're getting real close to the prequels now, to the Phantom Menace. We're in 1998 pretty solidly now. The year one of the two hosts was born. So now everything that we're consuming from here on out will have both been alive for it. We're going over today some comic books, some more Dark Horse comic books. We got Shadows of the Empire Evolution, Tales of the Jedi Redemption, and the Star Wars A New Hope manga adaptation. Then we got some video games, the Star Wars Trilogy Arcade, Star Wars Rebellion, the real-time strategy game, and the fighting game, Star Wars Masters of Teras. Let's begin. Ryan, what are your thoughts and feelings? Have you got any Star Wars life updates for the audience?
I have a couple actually. One popped up today as like a targeted ad at me, and I was like, "Ooh, this isn't a." I like targeted ads because they actually like pinpoint me towards things I do want to buy genuinely. I know some people are like, they're stalking us and they're learning all our information, but I'm like, learn all my hobby information so you can. I don't have to go search for the best products for things. I don't mind the ads anyway.
That's true.
There's two things I've been into for a long time. I don't know if you know this about me, Jackson. I'm a step counter. I love going on my walks. I love gamifying it with the step counts.
Okay.
So that's very fun for me. And it's like I started doing that in COVID and I became so much more active because of it. So it's good for me too. I think it's like called Conquest events or whatever. They do these virtual like marathon type things where if you get this amount of steps, you'll get a little medal. And as I was looking through it, I was like, oh, that's cool. These medals are cool. I probably would never get this though, because like, I don't know, you're just paying really $50 for a cool medal that is made out of metal that does do some like interchanging and interlocking with it. But then I saw on their website, they had a partnership with freaking Star Wars, dude. And it was
Let's go.
Oh, you can track the steps as like you're walking on Coruscant, like, it'll be like, you'll be on the Hoth base or whatever. Like they've got like a whole set of these medals for it. And I'm seriously contemplating getting one to encourage myself to keep walking, but also just to have some like sick Star Wars memorabilia. There was a really cool one that was like, if you can walk 84 miles, you get this, it's like an X-Wing, and you push up on it, and like this metallic Death Star comes up. Really cool.
Huh. It's the Conqueror is what it's called?
Yeah, what I call it, Conquest or Conqueror?
Oh, I don't remember. I was just looking it up, but oh yeah, okay. Well, hey, be careful looking at these, but
Are there spoiler ones?
I mean, not really.
I didn't click too deep. I saw one that was like Dark Side, and it looked like two people clashing on it, and I was like, okay, I won't look at what that one is because I don't know if it's supposed to be the Obi-Wan fight, but I don't know. It didn't look like silhouettes I recognized.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 3 original trilogy ones here. I'm looking at them now. 3 original trilogy ones and 3 prequel ones. But hey, this is pretty cool. You got the Death Star. You walk. You have a virtual map of progress of you walking through the Death Star. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's the type of gamification that like gets me active too. That's the only thing that works. That's the only way I'll leave my house or computer chair, even if I can gamify it and there's data.
Hey, I mean, honestly, this might be good for me too. I need some kind of gamification. The Rebel Alliance Echo Base Hoth Virtual Challenge is 212 miles long.
Yeah, they're pretty impressive mileage, but you can do it at your own pace. So I don't know, maybe if Womp Rats, maybe if Jackson gets in on this, we can have a little Beggars Canyon Boys. I don't know, not competition, but just see how we pan out against each other in a
Yeah.
competitive way.
Hey. Yeah, not a competition though.
Well, I wouldn't want you to feel bad when I absolutely annihilate you.
They have Looney Tunes, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Scooby Doo, Harry Potter.
Scooby-Doo. I didn't look at the Scooby-Doo ones. I saw Harry Potter, which I don't care about. Game of Thrones, which the
All right,
hand one was kind of cool. But yeah, I didn't look at the other ones.
Scooby Doo, what do they got here? Yeah, just 50 miles. That's nothing. I can do that in one day.
What's the location? Like the zombie island from that Scooby-Doo movie?
No, it said it's like the witch's house or something. I clicked
No, it's
away
vague.
from it, but yeah. It's from the Witch's Witch episode.
Oh, okay. Didn't know you're a big Scooby fan.
I just read that on there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't just have that encyclopedic knowledge of like the Scooby-Doo fandom.
No. I like Scooby Doo though. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, second thing that I wanted to mention also is, dude, once we finish the prequels, there's got to be like, because the Star Wars marathon idea coalesced in my head, and I was like, I wonder if they actually have like a Star Wars marathon or something where like people dress up as the characters and they go on a run or something. And then that just extended into me thinking like, I wonder what other like Star Wars events even are out there to that capacity. And I was like, there's got to be a ton in Los Angeles, right? And I feel like once we've seen the prequels, I've unlocked enough where I can go out and I can go to like one of those events. So I want to look into that also.
I would agree. The only thing at that point that you would get spoiled would be like characters from the Clone Wars, what they look like and stuff. Like it doesn't matter at that point. So, yeah, we should totally do that. I mean, we've talked about it, but the bar, the Star Wars bar on Hollywood Boulevard, we could go there, and I'm sure there's all kinds of little conventions or meetups, things like that.
Oh yeah, we need a video, man, where we go and we have every single Star Wars themed drink at that bar.
Yeah, yeah. And we spend like $400 at the bar.
Well, yeah, but we'll just use the money that we've been making from the podcast.
Right.
Once I get
So
my
it's
half.
Well, I still got to go through. I got to like crunch the numbers and make sure it's all fair. And I spend money on the hosting service that allows us to upload them. So,
You're stammering, you're stuttering, you're
it,
being forced to explain the money of this all is putting you under the coals, huh?
no,
Where are the
once
credits
we make,
going?
if we ever make any money, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I feel like we should get a sponsorship from Conquer or Conquest, whatever it is, for the ad I just mentioned for them, the marathon thing.
For real.
I'll
I'll reach
out.
out to him. Okay, we'll both reach out.
Okay, well, I'll do it independently. See who they get to first. Make it a little competitive non-competition, you know?
Yeah. Little measurable comparison of who does better.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. And we were texting, and you were thinking, or saying that you should get a little modern reward once you finish the prequels of something you could do or play. And I was thinking about it, and honestly, after we finish the prequels, you could probably play the Jedi Survivor, the PS4 game with Cal Kestis, the red-headed Jedi that you've been seeing advertised to you.
Archie Comics meets Star Wars. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. It's it definitely has to do with Archie Comics. No, because there's like a few references to things that are established later in like Rogue One and things like that, but it doesn't really matter. But there are pretty heavy prequel spoilers in it. But once we finish that, yeah, you could totally do that. And I've been thinking about replaying that game soon myself, so it would be fun.
And it seems really inexpensive to like buy them all.
Yeah,
like they're always on sale.
Yeah, especially that first one is like, it's got to be 6 or 7 years old now. It's crazy, but
So that takes place before the original trilogy, then, I'd assume?
Yeah, it takes place in between the movies. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right, any Star Wars updates from you, Jackson? Any merch that's caught your eye? Any Star Wars related news that I wouldn't be able to get since I'm not tapped into the pulse of all that?
Um, I mean, there's some news, I guess, but nothing I can really share. Well, not like, oh, I can't share it, but it's just not that exciting. There's a new wave of, it's sort of a new era in the Star Wars comics at Marvel right now. Um, a new, they're pushing sequel adjacent content now, stuff that takes place after Return of the Jedi, which is really something that they shied away from for a long time. Um, so, yeah, I've been reading a little bit of it here and there, and it's okay. But there's this new thing that came out called like Legacy of Vader or something like that that looks interesting. I'll probably check that out. Um, but other than that, not really. I'm just continuing to read the Rogue Squadron comic. I do like it, but it's got a little stale, but every 4 issues is a new story, so I'm kind of just like, okay, if this one's a little boring, I'll just get through it and maybe the next one will be more fresh and exciting to me, but it's still very well written and good characters and stuff. And then, oh, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I've been listening to an audiobook, a Star Wars audiobook called The Courtship of Princess Leia. This is an early book, 90s one, and man, I don't like it very much, but I'll give you a brief rundown of it. There's this, this is after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But before the Thrawn stuff. So,
okay, nice little sweet spot.
Yep. Han and Leia are not married yet in this, and there's this alien species. Let me just pull up.
I will say the title of this gives me some cause for pause, cause for concern,
Cause for pause.
Just because Leia's not usually handled super well outside of well, just in general, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we'll get into maybe one of her worst representations we've seen today.
Yeah.
But so yeah, this is written by Dave Wolverton, and there's this alien species called the Hapes, or the Hapens, and they're like this super technologically advanced like society that has been not involved in all the wars, but they want to give the New Republic a bunch of resources and stuff, and they say kind of in exchange for this and as a way to bring our two sort of sides of the galaxy together, we would like for Princess Leia to be married to the prince of this empire, or not an empire, I don't know what you call it, the Hapen people, the ruler of the Hapes cluster, yeah, their kingdom, I guess. And there's this guy, Prince Isolder, and he's like pretty cool, and he wants to marry Princess Leia, and so that whole part of it is really annoying because all it is Han being like super jealous and trying to be like, look, I can prove that I'm just as good as this guy, princess, and like he's like, oh, is it money? Is it da da da? And she, so that's frustrating to see him, because he literally at one point like knocks her unconscious and kidnaps her, and then the plot becomes like, I'm gonna prove to you in 5 days that you'll fall in love with me and then he's like making her dinner and stuff, and like it's just terrible. And then
put out an intergalactic Amber Alert for that. Jesus, it's like something out of what I would imagine happens in the Netflix show You, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seemed like, and they do put out the Amber Alert because immediately all the Hapan people go try and hunt him down and kill him, and Luke's whole plot is like to try and find them before the other people get there and kill him and try to resolve it that way.
A weird plot. This is really weird.
And then on Leia's side of it, she's obviously very understandably like really disliking Han after he kidnaps her, but before that part, she's like so cold and like unloving to him, and he'll be saying stuff like, did it not mean anything, like when we were saying I love you to each other and like the relationship that we had? And she's like, no, it did, but like, this is like a really big opportunity and like all this. So it's just so annoying. And then but the cool thing about it is Han Solo wins this planet in Sabacc to like sort of try and win Leia's affection and be like, look, I own a planet. Whatever, but it's Dathomir. And Dathomir we will definitely be seeing a lot more of later, but this is, I'm pretty sure, its first appearance. And the cool thing is it's full of these Force-sensitive witches that Luke, when he goes to Dathomir to try and find them, ends up getting involved in their culture and training, and it's very rocky at first, and it's not like he just goes there and starts training them, but eventually he convinces them to like join his new Jedi Order, and we got this whole new culture of witches and this other side of the Force that's a little more mystical, and that aspect of it is very cool and interesting and well written. So
yeah, that is cool.
Bag.
I feel like I asked about like Star Wars or space witches very early on when we started this too. So it's and you think you teased that like they'd come further down the line. So are we getting there?
I mean, I had not seen that stuff until much later. I did not know that that this was like the first appearance of Dathomir or these witches, but apparently, according to, I forget what, but apparently, according to some like source book or something, you remember that witch character from the second Ewok movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently she's from Dathomir, so apparently she's one of these witches.
Wow, okay, there we go. She was the one who had beef with Logray, right?
Yeah. I don't really remember, to be honest.
Sorry, all of that just really was cemented in my head since we were in the Ewok trenches there for so long.
No, I'm glad. I mean, I need to go and watch that one again. The Battle for Endor. That was great.
Yeah.
No, probably won't do that. But yeah, that's all. Well, that's what's currently going on with me outside of the podcast content, Star Wars related stuff.
Man, you're consuming a lot of Star Wars. I mean, I feel like I'm consuming a lot of Star Wars just through the podcast, but you're doing extracurricular Star Wars as well.
Yeah, well, it's just nice to listen to in the car. I'm gonna move on soon to the Rogue Squadron novels because I've just heard that those are really good, and I'm quite curious to probably listen to those. I have a couple physical Star Wars books that I'm reading, but I can't even tell you about those.
Whoa, okay. Secrecy among the stars. Okay.
Well, you want to crack into today's stuff?
Yeah, should we start with the good comic or the bad comic?
Up to you. I could see it either way.
Let's start with what I consider wouldn't it be crazy if we had flipped ideas of what the bad and
Yeah.
good comic were?
I'm pretty sure we're on the same page here.
Yeah. Well, I say we start with the what I'm considering the bad one then, which is Shadows of the Empire. I forget the subtitle of it.
Evolution.
Oh, is it just Evolution?
Yep. Shadows of the Empire Evolution.
Okay. Yeah. Which, by the way, so you had texted me before I read either of the two comics for today, and you were like, maybe I'm misremembering the text or I misinterpreted it or misread it at the time, but it was something along the lines of like, oh, it's so nice to see like the gang back together again or something like that. And I thought you meant like the gang from the original trilogy. And so when they were popping up in this comic in their terrible characterizations, I was like, no way Jackson enjoyed this. Like, he's got to be messing with me. It wasn't until after, and I got to the second comic where I was like, oh, okay, this is definitely what he was referring to, because I feel it too there. But yeah,
No, I was talking about Ulic and Nima or Nomi Sunrider.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is terrible. Shadows of the Empire Evolution. This is written by Steve Perry, who wrote the novel version of Shadows of the Empire. And this is a weird thing, and it focuses pretty much exclusively on Guri, Shizor's android bodyguard from Shadows of the Empire, that she's barely in the comic at all, but she is one of the main players in the novel, so it makes a little more sense to have a follow-up story about her if you read the novel, I guess, but she's still not really very interesting in that.
no, she's super boring, and it's like even the type of story, like it should be interesting. It's like a trope, but it's a fun one where it's like, I was created to be a weapon, and I no longer want to be a weapon. Like that's just a fun core storytelling idea that we see a lot, but usually it's executed so much better. It's like she's such a nothing character here, and also I hate to say it, but I feel like this is one of the first comic projects we've read where every single aspect of it is kind of bad. I mean, the writing is bad, the art is bad, the coloring's bad, the like sequential action between the panels is bad and like difficult to follow at times because it's so bad. I don't know. There was like
is bad.
I actually like the cover art. I will say that it's stylized in a different way, and it kind of looks like it was made in Color 3D. If you ever had that app for the Nintendo 3DS, yeah,
No,
it looks a little splotchy
remember.
like that, but it's cool. I feel like the cover art's cool. It still like fits a portrait like in a stylized way. It's not as good as the other ones, but I like it still.
There was just this one issue. Well, I guess on multiple issues, all the little like stars of like blaster blasts and everything everywhere. And there was one where it was really obnoxious. Oh yeah, the cover for the second issue, it's just like full of I like the models and the character designs on there, but they just have like these little star blasts, orange like star shots all over it that are really annoying to me. But
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, do you agree that this comic just sort of dropped the ball in like every standard, really?
yeah, I agree. I was gonna say about the sequential storytelling of the art. So like really the main plot is that, yeah, like you said, Guri is like someone who's built to be a weapon, and she's like, I don't really want to do that anymore, so she's looking for this special programmer guy who can sort of rewire her brain and make her, I don't know, a regular person, I guess. But then when she wakes back up, she retains all of her fighting abilities and is just nice now. Is
They're
really
like, oh,
all.
it's muscle memory. It's like, what?
Yeah. So what was the what? uh, and then some bounty hunters are after her, and also the rebels are after her because she might have, a bunch of information about the Black Sun criminal organization. And also Shizor's niece is around, and who cares about any of that?
Forgot about that even.
But in terms of the sequential storytelling, there's all these moments, many moments, where Guri is confronted by like a group of tough guys or whatever. And it's like, they're like, oh yeah, what's this girl doing all by herself? Oh, and then you're like, oh, okay, like these guys are about to get their ass beat because she's super tough. And like, yeah, that is what happens, but it will always just cut to the aftermath of it. It will just cut to like a pile of bodies on the ground and her walking away. And we almost never actually see like any fighting or moves going on or any attempt at like exciting action sequences, which like that was the only that which wouldn't be that big of a deal in a comic that has like a really interesting story and everything going on. But since this is such a simplistic and nothing of a story, I was like, well, maybe at least since it's about like this expert fighter that will get cool fight sequences. But no, we don't.
And the moments are like framed in the book in such a silly manner. It's almost, it's like the worst of like 90s action movie style. Like, for example, when her ship crashes down and like lands in that swamp area or whatever, and then like literally the page after, and I know they were just fluffing out this book also. I don't think they were taking this too seriously even, because there's many pages that are just like really, really simplistic art with no dialogue on it. And then you'll just go to the next page. And this is an example of that. So the ship crashes down, and then you just see like it's submerged into the swamp. There's some bubbling, and then like there's 3 panels of her popping up from the swamp and like doing this cool like, I'm walking out of this. I was in a crash, but I'm uninjured. I'm that good. Like,
she's terrible. A robot, so she's like walking underwater, I guess.
It's so bad. And after every one of those fights you mentioned, it's like they'll rip up her little purple suit that she's wearing, and it'll be like all the rips will be like right above her breast, but like not close enough to her nipple. But it's like you're almost at nipple, so it's like whoa. It's just I'm like. This is pandering to like the lowest of the low, I think. I don't know.
It's a pretty horny book too. Yeah, I mean, especially horny for Guri. Her proportions are insane throughout this, and she's like, and when they're showing like a flashback of her origins and everything, it's like, she was programmed, then trained, and showing her doing martial arts. And trained, and then showing her in like some lingerie lying on a bed. I was like, ew, don't do that.
I do. I feel like there's like some injection of writer male fantasy here, where he's just like, wouldn't it be super cool and hot if everyone had their own like sexy droid woman who was capable of killing also, but also was like super hot
and really like good at sex. Yeah. Yeah, weird. And then, like we mentioned before, I mean, you said and you're right, the characterization of all 3 of the main original characters is pretty terrible, but Leia's is like especially awful. I mean, we've talked many times about how Leia can be reduced to like this jealous, pining after boys type of character in a lot of the auxiliary material we've consumed, and she's so not like that at all in the movies. And it's like, man, like, I don't know, people just think because she's like in love with a man in the movies that she has to like act this way. Like, it's like you can have both, not to be like so whatever woke language about it or whatever, but like you can have your emotions and your powerful like strategy and logic and leadership and everything, as well as like you're still allowed to like be in love with a man, that doesn't make you like a weak character. But if that's the only thing that you're focusing on, then it's really weird. Like, and in this, there's multiple times where Han Solo gets like flirted at by some ladies and by these twins. I can't even remember their names, but like
maybe we could have a drink or something. That moment.
Yeah. And then Leia's so like, hey, you better not. And he's like, I said no, hey. And then she's like, but you thought about it. And then Luke is just there like, all right, calm down, guys. Let's not get too excited and everything.
It was excruciating to read through those moments in this comic, though, because even like Luke gets tied into it, and Lando gets tied into it too. So in the drink moment, like Han Solo's like, I'm not gonna have that drink. I don't think that'd be good for my health. And then like, which is dumb in and of itself. And then Lando's like, and I don't think he's talking about the drinks. The panel's it's literally like drawn out like that, where he's like, oh, da, 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 da. So stupid. And then
He's
literally
talking about the ladies.
yeah, there's a page later where you're like, okay, we're out of the cesspool of whatever weird Han and Leia shit they've got going on in this, and we're moving on to the rest of the mediocre story. But then Luke randomly, like, there's attractive women up ahead or something, and like Luke's like, uh-oh, better watch out, or Han, like, they'll really want to get with Han Solo. And it's like, bro, and he's like, sorry, Leia, just kidding. And it's like, I hate this. Like, you guys are doing so much to ruin these characters in so little. Like,
I know. They
shocking.
barely do anything, and what they do is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that moment where Luke is, like, teasing her, like, it would still be bad regardless, like, from Luke's characterization, but it could be a little bit funny or redeemable if Leia was like, shut up, like, what are you talking about? Like, or just, chiding Luke for being, like, super immature or something. But no, she is mad about it. There's just, like, a panel that's just straight up a wordless close-up of her face after he does that, just being like, Arr.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. Yeah,
so like, stupid.
You're right. I wish if they were gonna do this, they at least like let her in a little bit on the fun of it. Like, I think the most that she ever has that is a moment that's like a little sassy back like that, but it's still imbued with all her anger about it. It's she's like, yeah, why don't you get a drink with them, Han? But it's still it's like such annoying like playground and bickering. It's also like it's semi equivalent to like it reminds me of like my wife jokes. Like older guys who do like, oh I gotta go home to my wife. Would you believe it? Oh, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Chill out,
man. I could be out having a drink with some young co-eds, but instead I gotta go home to my wife. Yeah, I mean it totally was that, and yeah, I don't know. It's like, there's a way to do this kind of stuff where like, oh, Han's like flirting with someone and or vice versa, she could be flirting with someone and he gets jealous or whatever. They would never do that, but they could. And
kind of like the book you're reading, right?
Right. In the book I'm reading, they do that. Yeah. But I mean, in this comic specifically, it doesn't seem like they would ever allow Leia to care about anything except for Han. And there's a way to do it that's realistic and maybe potentially even funny, but it's not this. Like you said, it's just like, it's like third grade level, like, jealousy of, like, boys.
Yeah, it genuinely felt like the characters did not like each other. And I was like, oh, that's sad and not as fun.
Yeah, I know. And then, like, oh, yeah, there was a funny part where they had to quickly explain to Han who Shizor was, though. And they were like, we met him when you were in Carbonite. Sorry. All right, moving on.
Oh, wait, is it the moment with where they're talking about Guri, actually?
Yeah. Yes.
That is,
you're right.
I only remember because I screenshotted that as like the one redeeming moment of the comic, because I was like, okay, that got a little chuckle out of me. Like,
yeah,
him being like, who's Guri? And then just continuing to talk and be like, who is Guri? Who? And then there's the panel of him yelling, who's Guri?
Yeah.
Which, like, it's like kind of a cheap joke, but it got me. It made me laugh.
I mean, yeah, they overdid it, but I like that idea, though, because of them just, barreling straight through something and him being like, wait, what's going on? Like, that's a pretty, like, Han Solo type of thing, I feel like, for Luke and Leia to get caught up in, like, talking about the mission or the Force or whatever, and him kind of getting a little left in the dust on, like, that, that feels true to the characters and everything.
Yeah. I would say overall, though, I feel like I think this comic was just tacked on as fluff for the Shadow of the Empire stuff. Like, I don't think much, maybe I'm being too dismissive of it, but I don't think much thought went into it. And if a lot of thought did go into it, that's probably even worse. But I don't know
Yeah,
if like the original crew should have even been there. Like they did not need to be in this story, and it did them, as we've mentioned, a disservice to be in this story.
I agree. I guess the slack I can cut it is Steve Perry's first time ever writing a comic book. Okay.
Okay.
Not a great, I've seen other people take their first swing at it and be much better, so not a great defense, but you know, uh and then the other thing is, it's totally just created to make some more money because Shadows of the Empire was a pretty successful thing, and they're like, okay. I mean, I don't know the background. Maybe Steve Perry came to Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm and was like, I really want to write this story about Guri. Like, I have more ideas for my character that I made, and it's his
Maybe.
character that he invented, and I could see that, but there's some bones of something slightly potentially fun here, of this post Return of the Jedi world of, the criminal organizations are gaining a lot of power in the absence of the Empire, and Guri's kind of like a leftover caught in the middle of it. And like bounty hunters are trying to hunt her down, and I could even see like potentially, all these different factions are chasing after her because she is like a robot that has in her databanks all of this information about the most powerful like criminal organization. Like, okay, that could be fun if it was like this manic chase to find Guri, and that's what they're trying to make it be, but there's no fun action, there's no, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing, is it's just not fun in the execution. The idea is not terrible, but
And like I said, I genuinely think a lot of the book is truly filler. Like that scene I described where it's just the page of her walking out of the swamp water, like is not, there's no real way to frame that. Maybe they're trying, maybe people disagree. No real way to frame that as cool. It's kind of just like just a thing that happens, and then like we just cut around so much in the book, and it'll just be like, okay, here's a page that kind of like explains like the movement, but there's no dialogue or anything on the page, and it's like just the coloring is really simple and the art is really simple, so it's just like, okay, this is here to look at, I guess. Nah.
yeah, lots of pages that are flashbacks of stuff that happened in the main Shadows of the Empire series. While she's being operated on, she's having like all her memories of the book like roll through her head and
They
everything.
do that like 3 times also.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
it's they flash back to her little moment like fighting Luke like 5 times, I think, genuinely in this series. Like it's crazy. Like, and then she sees him again at the end, and like
She's like, I think I fought you before, but I can't remember.
yeah. Which again, it's like, what did they do? What operation did they do to her then? Because she remembers her abilities, but like is missing key memories, but also they're like still there apparently because they can kind of surface through in some instances.
Yeah,
So
I
therefore,
guess
the
so.
bounty hunter should still all be after her.
Yeah, like I'm sure if you just got another good hacker, they would still be like accessible in her hardware somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
And they just let her go.
yeah, they let her go be herself. Bye bye, Guri. As far as I know, she doesn't show up in other stuff, but I could be wrong.
If they ever let me write a Star Wars comic, I will bring her back. We need Guri. At a time like now, more than ever, we need Guri the droid to stand up against the, I don't know what the ongoing conflict in Star Wars is today, so whatever the Empire's doing.
Well, it looks like this is really her
last
final
appearance.
appearance, other than like just some references in some source books for the role playing game, and she gets mentioned in another novel later, but she's not in it. So yeah, this is pretty much it for Guri.
I'm all for droid rights, as you know, but I'm gonna have to exclude Guri from that. No droid rights for Guri. You have to be a compelling character to get rights in my fictional headspace, I guess. I won't commit to that. That's
Wow. That's a little questionable.
Next, can we cut? Can we just stop? Can we stop recording?
All right. But we have fun stuff to talk about now after this.
Okay, all right. We can. Oh, well, you don't want to mention these twin sisters, at least? The very compelling characters that were these twin sisters that do the classic twin thing where they say good in unison? You didn't like that?
No, not really. What, I forget their names, but it was like these sisters, formerly known as these sisters.
Yeah, weird little like pedantic thing to mention there. Like it happens like 3 times. They're like, they used to be called this, but I think they're going under a new name now. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Han knew them when they were, the first name or whatever. Yeah. I would feel like, oh, I gotta look up their name, but they don't matter.
I wonder if they ever show up again.
I probably won't remember if they do.
What about Zizor? Is it his daughter or his niece?
I think it was his niece.
Yeah, I wonder, does she ever show up again? I wonder. Like, I feel like it's lame that we got the Black Sun gang, but we have still yet to see, and I haven't mentioned her in a long time, but Amazia, den mother of the infamous Black Hole Gang's gang.
Yeah,
like,
you're
come
right.
on. They're infamous.
They don't want to touch that stuff. They don't want to touch Han Solo's early adventures in comic books.
Well, lame. That doesn't have to have him. Amazia can work as an independent character of Han Solo.
No, I agree. I'm just saying they don't want to go back to any of those characters from those things.
They're scared.
Yeah. If they had any balls, they would bring back Amazia.
But they won't. Dude, if they wanted to make some money, which I think Star Wars as an IP and Disney probably do want to make some money.
I think that is like their goal, yeah.
Yeah, probably their overarching goal now. They should do like some animated Invincible style adaptation of the Tales of the Jedi stuff we've been reading, because I like it's so good. I really would love to see some like animated depiction of it. Like I want to watch it,
I really do too. That does not exist, but that would be awesome. They have their whole new canon about the ancient days of the Jedi now. That's different than this stuff.
Oh, that's sad to hear.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe cool, but I really like this stuff.
Me too. Well, let's get into it. This is Tales of the Jedi Redemption. We've got Kevin J. Anderson back writing another epic miniseries. This is the final series spun off from Tales of the Jedi.
Dude, are you serious?
True? That's what I'm reading here, but
that can't be right. Check the page. Check the page.
I'm checking my list.
I'll be I guess that doesn't necessarily mean we won't see any of these characters again.
Yeah. No, this actually is might be the end of Tales of the Jedi for now, at least. Is this the end of Kevin J. Anderson's comic books? No. He's got the miniseries we're reading next time, Jedi Academy Leviathan, but that's with cool. Luke in the new Jedi Academy.
Dude, I think he's my favorite Star Wars comic writer thus far we've encountered.
Me too. I agree with that. He's cool. He's just got good ideas. Let's crack it open. Tales of the Jedi Redemption tells the story of Ulic Qel-Droma and his redemption, I guess. Vima Sunrider, the daughter of Nomi Sunrider. Then, we've got some other familiar faces around, like Tat Donita and Credo. Is that her name?
Yeah, like the Catwoman whose partner died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's an angry one in this.
Yeah, she is. All right. Well, yeah, you mentioned you liked this, but what'd you think?
Dude, I really like this one. I thought it was really well written, really compelling. Like, not gonna lie, dude, towards the end when everything is sort of resolving and we're just sort of thinking back on because this is a decade has passed since the last of I forget what the last Tales of the Jedi comic was, but a decade has passed since then, basically. Um, Maybe the Sith War one, whatever. Um, but like, yeah, so we get to check in basically with all these characters and whatnot. But it was just like it was really touching. I'm glad Ulic got this redemption going on because it was making even on the frozen planet they were at the end of the book, it was making my heart feel nice and warm. And the, this comic, in contrast to the other one, is just like that one did everything wrong. This one feels like it does everything right. I mean, the writing is really really good. The characterization I feel like matches and like they've progressed naturally like in that decade. Like they're all kind of like a little more big shot Jedi leaders, whereas Ulic is like he's still going through it, kind of. But this leads to his redemption. Yeah, like Vima, the daughter of Nomi Sunrider, is around, and she's got her relationship with her mom, and they've got like their own little independent issues. Um, it's really good. The art is like really good. I really like the art, and I
Me
really
too.
like a lot of the panel layout that they did too. Like I thought they did a good job at capturing the emotional beats through just panel layout, even like especially when and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but like when Ulic uh reunites with some of the people that he sees in this comic, like they're it's done very tenderly on the page, and their expressions are drawn so wonderfully too. Because like I'm like, man, I can see and I can feel the pain of like Nomi and Ulic, for example, not having been able to like communicate or talk for these past many years, and like that there is still like something there of like respect of a relationship or whatever it may be. Um, I don't know, man. Really good stuff. I really like this one.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I really like it too. I think it's it's a little more like straightforward or smaller in scope, a little more like character focused than some of the other Tales of the Jedi miniseries that are super grand and conceptual and introducing all these new characters and ideas. This one we don't really have many new characters other than um what's
Vima.
our well Vima, she's older
Okay,
now, but
she's not
the
new. She's not new.
or is it Silvar is the
The Jedi file.
Silvar is the cat lady, and
Oh,
Kratos is
who's
her guy who died. But yeah, the pilot. I'm thinking of that guy.
the funniest character in this thing?
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
He's just the Jedi file in my head because he literally calls himself that, and I don't know if that's a term that we've heard before, but it's very funny to hear. Like he just is obsessed with Jedi's and Jedi lore, and like is so happy to be in the presence of what he's like. He drops Oleg off in the beginning, uh, and he's like giving him the history. I forget which planet it was. You probably know, but he's like giving him the history of that planet, and Oleg's like lived through this literally, like he fought there,
Yeah, on
seeing like the
Yavin.
ghost of
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I wanted to
No,
say Yavin, but I wasn't confident enough. Oh,
that guy's name is Hagen. Very appropriate type
oh
of
yeah.
name for him.
I remember, yeah,
Little.
because he was like, "I'll be known as Hagen the Heroic" by the end because of what he
Mhm.
did.
Yeah, and what he did was a big deal. Yeah, that's he's kind of like our only real new character here. But yeah, so this broad strokes is about Vima kind of being upset that her mom isn't really paying attention to her very much and not training her as a Jedi because Nomi is now a big spokesperson for the Jedi, and in the pages of this comic is focused on this big meeting where all the Jedi are going to come together and she's going to tell them like now's the time to be Jedi or whatever.
Yeah, what
Um,
was this meeting for? I was trying to think back on that. I was like, she, it's not really a plot hole or anything, but like Naomi put so much importance on this, even like saying like towards the end, she's like, "Oh, I focus so much on this, but not my daughter. No wonder like I've lost grip of her a bit." But again, yeah, I don't remember what the actual meeting was for. It was just like, "Hey, we Jedis haven't gotten together in a long time to like do our Jedi propaganda. Let's have at it."
Yeah, I guess so. They're on the space station, Exis station, and uh, yeah, they want to have a big meeting. It's the convocation, is what it's called, and so essentially, really, the only thing that happens is at the meeting is that Silvar is like, "Hey, but we can't talk about this because or we can't say that we're all good because Ulic Keldroma is still alive and he's like the worst war criminal of them all and we need to go kill him." Um so yeah, I don't really even know what Nomi's part of it was other than being like, "We're all Jedi. Yay." Um
Yeah, for her being like positioned as one of like the greater Jedi at this time, she is kind of lacking like
mhm.
a lead role in this story. But that's okay, because to me it's mostly about the daughter Vima, is it Vima?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Ulic.
Well, for
And
sure.
Silvar, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, she's probably like the third main character of it, but yeah, so Vima, has heard about Ulic and everything and feels through the force that he will be able to teach her, and so she sneaks away and goes to him to train under him as a Jedi, and he's lost his connection with the Force, so he's like, "Oh, I can't do it," but he can do it. Just because he can't feel the Force doesn't mean he doesn't know the Force. He can still
Yeah,
teach her.
maybe he needs to stop trying to paint with the Force and instead start trying to sculpt with the Force. You
Yeah,
know?
and literally too.
Yeah.
They make big statues of
Yeah,
Master
Master
Arca.
Arca representation.
Mhm.
Mount Rushmore of Master Arca and Nomi
Her
Sunrider's husband, whose name I forget.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that was a funny part. But I guess nice to see Master Arca get some respect.
I like when
Um,
Vima tries to show that off to her mother later in the book. She's like, yeah, "Okay, they're kind of melting now, but
yeah,
like this is
yeah.
what they." It's very. It's like, oh, that's a funny detail to throw in there.
I know that was funny because they totally didn't need to do that, but that's why his comics are good because even the ones that are more grand than this or more era sweeping or cover more like big events or whatever, they have these little moments like that you're like, "Oh right, like these are still like real people or believable characters that I could see existing in a real reality and everything." Like it's great.
Yeah, can I tell you my biggest disappointment or the shock of this read to me? I was gutted to find this out about a character that I love very much.
Sure.
So Master Thrawn appears in this.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the beginning because he's they're all the Jedi's are coming, and Master Thrawn is still around because he's an OG. He
He
handles
couldn't be
himself
taken
well.
down.
Yeah, like what? Who's gonna take out Master Thrawn? We saw when the Jedi Masters were all taken down by their students. Not Master Thrawn.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, I was disappointed to find out though he's a "Where's my hug" guy because immediately with Vima he was like, "No hug for Master Thrawn."
Yeah.
No, no.
Oh,
So
you're absolutely correct. I didn't think about that, but you're very right.
yeah, so that was the worst part of the book for me. So the book was pretty enjoyable.
Hey, he's an old guy. That's like his
Yeah, true,
granddaughter.
true. But hey, man, you shouldn't be "Where's my hugging your granddaughter" either. Really, is that what you're advocating for?
No, I'm not advocating for anything.
Don't excuse Master Thawne just because he's cool as hell, okay?
All
No,
right.
it's not a
Well,
big deal. It's really not a big deal in the book. I'm like joking. Like it's
I know,
he's
but
just
that
like,
is
"Give me a
very
hug,"
funny.
basically. Yeah.
But you're right. That is a moment in it. Um, yeah, I so we mentioned Hagen. It's he's a funny funny character. He's like this short little pilot guy who, yeah, as we mentioned, takes Ulic around to try and find him some solitude. And then when he goes to the convocation and he sees Silvar being all crazy about finding Ulic, he's like, I know where he is. I could tell them. And so he thinks like, oh, this will be a big moment for me. We realize pretty quickly he doesn't really care about helping people. He's just kind of seeking glory. And well, by the end of this, everybody's all comes together. Silvar's trying to kill Ulic, but is convinced not to right at the end, that this will not.
Might I add, very Last of Us Part 2. I was getting flashbacks to the end of Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah,
when she
honestly
decides that, like, oh no, I shouldn't have followed my anger, the revenge aspect of all this, and lets him live. I was like, people hated that ending in Last of Us Part 2. People, I don't know. I don't know what they'd say about this. I like them both. I think that's a good trajectory to follow in stories, like about revenge, really, or like how corrosive it is. But, you know.
We still get a fight. We still get a cool fight between them. She just doesn't kill him at the end, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing of Star Wars is like the dark side and everything of like, oh, you can be tempted, you can make mistakes, you can start to go down this path, but the people who really become lost are the people who think to themselves, I've done too much, so now I'm in it too deep and I'm just going to keep going, because if I tried to go back, nobody would accept me. Everybody would hate me. No,
yeah.
And that happens to Darth Vader. That happens to Ulic. Happens to Exar Kun. Happens to tons of people. But there we see she's right kind of on the edge of turning to the dark side throughout this whole thing. She goes on this mythic hunt with Tat Donita and slaughters all these bugs. And he's like, hey, you didn't use this to get over your anger. All that did was fuel it. And you got to be careful. And so we, actually see an example of somebody who doesn't quite turn to the dark side, but almost does. I'm
glad she didn't. I've realized, and even you just saying that now has made me realize, like, it's quite actually effective and sad watching people go to the dark side in these stories. Like, it's a little different when... I mean, I guess I still was sad and felt empathy for Vader and his situation, even though I don't know the full context of it yet based on the prequels. But even there, I was like sad for him. But it's a little different because I didn't watch his turn to the dark side. You know, I've seen like the after effects of it and his break out of it. But it is pretty harrowing and depressing to watch characters, kind of like you said, get so trapped in the dark side where they think they just have to plow forward in it, and like turning back doesn't really seem like an option to them. And to some degree, maybe for some of them it's not. Like, I don't know, was it Exar Kun who like was literally going to die unless he accepted the dark side, like the cave crushing down on him? Yeah, I don't know what he could have done there, but it's like Ulic says, the tough choices that Jedis have to make. He really tries to get it across to Vima that like being a Jedi is not a joke. And also it's very funny because as she gets a little cockier with her abilities as the story progresses and his training progresses with her, she starts to tease him about his war crimes. And she's like, oh, remember the last time you got swayed by the dark side? Don't want to go that route again, do you?
Yeah.
Like running away with the...
And he smiles.
Yeah, he does. It's just funny though, because I'm like, kind of like terroristic acts that he committed. Like, she's just like doing da.
But I guess, that's the nice thing for him about his relationship with her, is that, she's so young and doesn't remember all of the horrible things that he did, doesn't understand the full context of it, so she can, treat him how he wants to be now and how he's acting now, rather than all the baggage that he's taken from before. And there's this whole thing of like, hey, you can't punish me any more than I've already punished myself for this thing, okay? Like, I like hate myself and I want to die all the time and everything. And I don't know, that's like a pretty interesting thing to be digging into here, I think, of like, oh, like, does someone like this deserve to be killed for their crime? You know, I don't even mean in like the real context of like the death penalty for criminals or anything like that, but like, you know, in this heightened reality where he's killed thousands of people, or at least is responsible for the death of thousands of people, and he's betrayed his family and friends and murdered all these people. Like, yeah, like we, you know, before this redemption and everything, I don't think anybody would have been too upset if somebody had killed him, like after he killed Kay. But they get into it here of like, well, does he deserve to die and be punished in that way, or does he deserve another chance? And if he is really going to hold himself accountable and be good now, you know, to simplify it to good and bad, I guess, but like if he is really going to just do good deeds now, why should he be further punished? You know, so it's some interesting nuance that they're digging into there, I think.
Yeah, and it's a good point what you said about Vima, like not really having the lived experience of what happened in the past. Like she was a kid, like, or even younger, like a baby, toddler. I don't remember how old she was, whatever.
She's pretty young during all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so she doesn't necessarily know, like, I'm sure she knows the context of it, but it's probably a bit abstract or further away from her at the very least. And so I really, again, another moment that like touched my heart a bit in this story was when Vima, Nomi, and Ulic are all together finally, and Vima's like, no, he's trained me really well. He saved my life. He's not the man that you told me he was, but you know that too. And I don't know, man, something about that just like, I was like, oh man, this is good stuff. Oh, yeah. Very, very like heartwarming, compelling, like layered. Give me more of this. That's why I was disappointed when you were like, this is the last of the Tales from the Jedi series.
I know, it's kind of a shame because I don't know where it's a good conclusion for it, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they could think of some new cool stories and stuff. But yeah, I know they go back. They do more old stuff, but with these characters, this might be the end of their story.
With Vima, even because, you know, as was predicted by Master Thrawn, he could sense that she was also going to be a great Jedi Master.
Right. That's a good question. I don't know that for sure. Nothing that I've read. I mean, I've read obviously not everything, but I've read a lot more comics. Yeah, it looks like that's it for Vima.
Wow. That is kind of disappointing to hear, but okay, at least they end strong.
Yeah, that is kind of a bummer. I'd like to see her story go on.
Yeah, she had a kind of a spunky, fun attitude, you know.
Yeah, breathe some. You know, everybody's so serious in these Tales of the Jedi books for the most part. It's nice to have someone with a little attitude and energy.
Wait, she shows up in the prequels, doesn't she? And you just don't want to spoil it for me.
Yeah,
Vima in the prequels.
She's the main character of all 3 prequel movies.
Natalie Portman?
Yep, you guessed it.
I know this now. Yeah.
So this ends pretty like Shakespearean tragedy esque in a very cool way, I think, where Hagen, the guy we've mentioned, glory seeker,
Hagen the hero.
Mm-hmm. He's there at the end because he's taken Silvar to the planet where Vima and Ulic have been training, and Nomi goes to get her, and Silvar goes to kill him, and we said she doesn't, and then right at the moment where she's like, okay, I'm not gonna kill you, like, okay, I've gotten over my anger, blam, Hagen shoots Ulic from off screen and runs in and is like, I did it, I killed the biggest war criminal in all of history. I'm gonna be a hero. The Jedi are gonna put my name in the halls or whatever. And he dies. Ulic dies there. And it's a little Romeo and Juliet action where, like, right as I forget the order of it, but as he, like, stabs himself or whatever, she wakes up from the potion that he thought had killed her, or the other way around, I forget. Yeah, pretty powerful little, like, sequence of events there. And I've read this before, and I forgot that he died at the end of this, and I was, like, genuinely still surprised by that moment.
Yeah, I like thought they may do that but I wasn't sure, so I was still shocked. But there's the moment earlier where, like, Silvar and him are in the Jedi file, Hagen, whatever his name is. They're in the ship together, and he's like, "I can be backup for you. I have my blaster. I'll just hang back, ready to shoot." And I was like, "Oh, okay," but she's like, "I won't need backup." Their cool shot with the lightsaber.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, okay, I feel like that was interjected there for a reason. But it's like, oh god, it still, like, surprises you, and I'm not mad that it happens, but I'm sad that Ulic dies there. I don't know. I guess it's just par for the course. Like, once a character gets the redemption, they're on the killing platter. But I don't know. It made me sad. I was like, look, the happy family of Nomi, Ulic, and Vima are finally all together. Like, they can just go do their own thing, Like, at least we get Ulic joining the Force, the positive of the aspect of the Force, which is another really cool moment where they're like, "What? But he didn't have a connection to the Force anymore." And Vima's like, "Oh, he had a connection greater than any of us knew," or something like that. It's written better than that, but it was good.
Yeah, it's nice. He gets the Jedi disappearing into his clothes, death.
Yeah, which is nice because then we know that the Sithly way of the afterlife is, like, pretty hardcore and possibly uncomfortable and torturous.
Yeah, I imagine it's pretty terrible. Yeah.
So good to know he's not spending his eternity there.
No, he probably gets to hang out with Kay and Arca and apologize to them.
Awkward. Can you imagine? No, just kidding. There's probably, like, Vader showing up with Obi and Yoda. Like, "Oh, no big deal, dog. We're all good now. Forgiveness is the way."
That's the thing. Like, if Kay has probably already had his journey in the Force and everything, and he's ready to forgive before Ulic even dies, probably.
He's probably thrilled to see it. We won't ever get to see that, but I'm sure they're having a nice little moment in Jedi heaven together.
But that's a good comparison, though. Man, isn't that so nice when Anakin and Obi-Wan and Yoda are all little ghosts
it is.
on Endor? Beautiful.
A little crew. You can sit with us at lunch, crew. They would let me sit with them.
Oh yeah. They're nice. They're nice guys. They've made mistakes.
Just on the virtue of me being cool.
Well, right. Yeah. No, I would say, like, they would take, like, pity on you and think that, like, no one else wants to sit with you, so they would be like, "Oh, come on, come sit with us, Ryan."
I think they would recognize my latent Force-sensitive abilities and identify that as the cause, because I was accidentally using my battle meditation to repel other friends away from me. But since they're Jedis, they can sense that, so they know what I'm doing. So they're like, "Fine, stop. Come sit at our table while we teach you the proper ways of battle meditation so you can attract friends to you instead of push them away."
Wow. Okay. I mean, just checkmate. I don't have any rebuttal to that.
Sort of my Star Wars Make-A-Wish type fantasy,
What All right. I was about to say what illness do you have, but we don't need to do that.
Star Wars fever, dude.
Yeah, we're all infected.
Yeah.
Any more Tales of the Jedi Redemption thoughts? I'm glad that you liked it. I thought this was pretty great, to be honest.
No, yeah, just not. again, I want to really compliment the artwork because I really really liked it, and this is an era of artwork that sometimes I'll be a little more cold or bitter towards, but this was perfect for this book.
Yeah, I like the penciliness of it. It's very different than the other Tales of the Jedi artwork that we've gotten. I feel like the pages are a lot less panel crowded, and they're a little smoother and atmospheric,
Yeah,
and less like cartoony style, more like yeah, pencil sketch style.
yeah. I mean, speaking of Tat Donita, there's a really badass double page spread I think where it's just him using his Jedi powers to fight against a heat storm, I guess.
On
Which
Ryloth.
yeah, which I guess I don't understand the full context of what a heat storm is, but looked really cool.
Yeah, that was cool, and it was like, oh no,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you can't run from a heat storm, you have to fight your way through it. It's like, okay.
Once again being like pretty cool, but not having much to him other than like he's tough, he's cool.
Dude, this is the most I think he's done, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really just like offer some stage wisdom and just be in the opening. He was like kind of the introduction, if I'm remembering right. Just that heat storm thing where it just introduces you to him, like checking in with him again and whatnot. But yeah, then he just goes hunting and then he ditches Silver hunting because, as you said, he's like, "You're too angry. You need to work on that."
Yeah, yeah. But hey, maybe she remembered his words when she was about to strike down Ulic, so he could have played a pretty big role in all of this.
I think they should get together. I know she was like big on. I had one mate for my entire life that was taken away from me.
Yeah.
But who says, break tradition? Go for Tato Nita.
Why not?
He was
Why
looking
not?
buff in this iteration. They jacked him up.
Yeah, absolutely. he's been hitting the Jedi weights.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to the manga?
Oh yeah. I forgot we have another comic even to cover.
Yeah, I mean we'd probably be quicker on this one since we've talked a lot about the story of A New Hope, but we read for this a manga adaptation of the original movie Star Wars A New Hope, and this was illustrated by Hisao Tamaki and edited by David Land and adapted from the screenplay of the original movie. I mean, most of the, if not all of the lines are directly from the movie.
Yeah, based off the special edition though, right? I'm only saying that because they added that scene where Han talks to Jabba after shooting Greedo.
Yeah, but I wonder because that was in the script because it was a deleted scene originally. So
Okay.
I'm wondering about that because they also include a few things in the script here or in the manga that are not in the special edition that are deleted scenes from the original, like Biggs telling Luke, like Luke has the flashback of Biggs telling him like, "Hey, me and my buddies are gonna leave the academy and go join up with the Rebel Alliance. Like, you should come with us there." Like, that's from a deleted scene in the movie that's not in the special editions.
Gotcha.
But man, this is awesome. I just gotta say up front, I absolutely loved reading this. The art style is incredible. I think it works so well for this type of story. It's by far the best adaptation of the movie that we've read, I think. I would, I would still say like watch the movie over this just because of the music, the performances, the sound, all that, the motion of it all. Obviously, I mean, it was a movie first. The original thing is almost always going to be the best thing. But if there was somebody who was just like, for some reason, if I met like some psycho that was like, I hate movies, I'm never going to watch a movie, but I love reading comic books, and they want to know the story of the first Star Wars movie, but they just have no desire to watch a movie, I would give them this over everything else. And I would say this is the most faithful and also the most emotionally resonant, and actually has like the character moments that we've been talking about. All the other adaptations just blast through characters and just show you plot. This has the whole package, really.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of like you said, I was reading through this and I was thinking, man, if they just released this and there was no Star Wars movie that ever came out, like this would be independently successful, I think. Like
Yeah.
it was really well done. Like you said, the artwork. I was frankly surprised like how well it worked for Star Wars. I was curious to see like how they'd fold in like the manga style with the Star Wars universe, but I don't know. I guess there's a lot of manga in general. It really works. Like Vader looks so cool and imposing. All of his moments are like really really awesome. Even like I know I've mentioned before, I sometimes have issues with when comics when they do sequential action for showcasing space fights. I even thought that was like done really well in this and like super
Yes.
effective. And I was like, man, like Western comics need to take some notes for what was done here because it's like it's easy to follow. It's like compelling. I'm like on the edge of my seat, even though I already know what happens in this movie. Like it was really good.
I totally agree, and that was my thought process reading it too. Was like, man, do American comics just suck like compared to manga in terms of uh honestly like a lot of things. Uh, uh, I don't think that that's actually true universally, of course, but uh, in terms of like sequential action, manga has American comics beat 9 times out of 10. Uh,
Dude, that
and
Obi and
then,
Vader fight looked sick.
yes, that fight was awesome. I mean, I don't know. From a combat perspective, that was stronger than the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the best version of that fight we've seen so far, I think. And you
And
know
like,
what?
no,
Oh,
go
what were you
ahead.
say? I was just gonna say when Vader defeats him, I feel like if I had, maybe it's different because I know now, but I feel like if I had just read the manga, I would have been able to follow along at the time of like, okay, that's what happens when someone with the Force dies. Like they just turn
Yeah.
into poof into clothes. Like it's all done so well. Every move, every like stage of that fight choreography that they invented for the manga, like tracks and flows really solidly. Like Vader berserking down upon Obi-Wan, just and Obi like blocking. It's all so good.
And like him like sweeping, like just a close up of like his foot sweeping out to the left to like
Yeah.
stance up and everything, like, man. And then the whole tension of the sequence beyond the fight is working really well too, because that's when like Luke and Han and Leia are running back to the Millennium Falcon, and Luke sees the fight and starts shooting and tries to like get Darth Vader in a split second of rage, and we see like Darth Vader turn, look at them, and then start like walking towards them as Luke shoots the door and the doors close on them so they can get away. And like, yeah, that is what happens in the movie too, but they really communicate the sense of like, oh, no, 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 like do not engage. Do not engage right now. Like,
Yeah.
good. And Vader's like approaching them, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, no, I think they did such a good job of like capturing the weight of like you said how horrifying Vader can be as just like a force of nature almost in these comic or in this manga. Um yeah, he looked great. I was like screenshotting just a bunch of like whenever Vader would show up, I was like, okay, that's a sick image of Vader. Got to screenshot that. And then like but every single page, it was like he looks so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to read the Empire Strikes Back one. Like, I they have these for all three of the originals, and I am just like really excited to read those because I don't know, like I want to see all of those moments done by this artist now. Like it works so well, and it's not just the moments, it's just the whole pacing of the storytelling and everything. Like, and the character stuff is really good too. Like this moment that I always think about that because they've done it badly in both Western adaptations of the movie is when when they're leaving Tatooine on the Millennium Falcon, and Luke is training with the little ball in the room on the Millennium Falcon, and Han comes in and he's like, all right, well, that should take care of things. No more Star Destroyers. And then they just like don't pay attention to him at all. And then he goes, don't everybody thank me at once. In both Western adaptations, they have all those lines, but they just like totally blast through all of it in one panel, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, okay, well, they didn't react or anything. But here, they actually give it the proper thing. He comes in, he's looking so the facial expression work is really strong in this. And I mean, you know, it's that manga over the top type of exaggerated expressions, but it works really well, I think, in a comic book, because it's hard to capture like subtle acting nuances and things, and oftentimes it can just look like a blank face. So, you know, show me the emotion. He walks in, he's like, shaking his hands. Then he says that thing. Then it just has a shot of Luke and Obi-Wan like not reacting to him at all. Then it goes back to him, and it's the like that face. Don't everybody thank me at once. And it's like, yes, like that is what I'm looking for right there.
Yeah, I think those like, I don't know what you call those like manga style emoticons that they do, like what that is, but it does actually do a lot to help like lift up the characterization of this book and like help with the flow. I will also say though, I just think they have like, in making this, they had a very good understanding of page space and page layout, because it'll be like every part of the page is on these pages is usually like utilized to some degree, or even like the negative space will be utilized cleverly too. And I feel like you don't always see that, but it like seems very intentional as you're flipping through this manga. And I'm very excited that I was going to ask you if there was an Empire Strikes Back one, because I also really there's some Luke and Vader stuff I really want to see go on in that one. So yeah, that'll be exciting when we can take a look at that.
Dude, I want to see Yoda lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. Like, I want to see the whole Jabba's palace sequence and the battle with Boba Fett on the skiffs and the Sarlacc pit. Like, man,
yeah,
the speeder bikes through the trees. Like, there's lots of moments that I don't know. Like, I'm excited to look at things that I already know what's going to happen. I just want to see how they're represented in this style, because it's so well done.
I want to see the Ewoks. I want to see how they do Ewoks. I want to see the Ewoks trying to eat the gang and then hail C-3PO as a god. That's what I want to see in the manga style. I can imagine that'd be pretty fun.
Well, I'm sure it's in there.
Yeah.
This is pretty faithful. It's got pretty much every moment of the movie in it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, much more of a, I don't say this in a demeaning way, it's a positive for it, much more of a copy and paste of the dialogue from the actual film than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah. And I mean, I know I texted you about it, but it really made me appreciate how well written that first movie is. I mean, yes, there are cheesy lines here and there and some cheesy delivery, but it just reinforces like how strong of a core story is in that first movie. Like, it's simple, but man, like, it works.
Yeah. Dude, I hate seeing Alderaan get destroyed so often, though. I feel like there's no justice for Alderaan. It looked really cool, but it's...
We actually saw the surface of Alderaan in this, too. We saw the people.
Yeah, I know, yeah. That's it was a double-page spread there, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which looked really cool with the style.
And, like, the huge, like, shadow of the Death Star and this huge crowd of people all looking up at it. Like, wow. I was like, man, that's actually additive. Like...
It does add, you're right, because it does add to later on when, like, Obi-Wan's, like, sensing the disturbance in the Force, and he's like, I forget exactly what he says, but to paraphrase it, he's basically like, I just heard a million screams that were instantly snuffed out. Like, what is going on? Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and, like, it's great. Tarkin looks great in this, too. I like the way he's drawn.
Yeah, you know what is a funny moment in this though? The Greedo Han Solo moment, because in this one makes it look like, I mean, I know Greedo's pointing his gun at him and he's like, I'm about to shoot you, but it just makes it look like Han out of nowhere went just like blasted Greedo, like obliterated him, which, hey, no shame in that, in my opinion, but
Man, that's how it is in the original cut of the movie.
Yeah.
And they kept it that way, so
it was cool.
one other thing I want to mention about that scene with Jabba the Hutt, still don't like that scene. Still think it has no reason to be there. But, you know, when we were listening to George Lucas talk about it, he's talking about how, it connects the first movie to the last one. We see Jabba the Hutt here. He's more a presence in your mind, and then, you know, when he's there at the end, we already know who he is or whatever. Okay. That I don't know about. What does work is this little moment, because Boba Fett is there in the movie too, in the special edition movie. He's standing around in the background. They just cut to him. They show him looking cool. But in this, as Han is walking away from this interaction, there's this little moment where like Han looks back and Boba Fett looks at him, and they kind of just like look at each other and be like, okay. And that, I think, actually accomplishes what he was trying to say about that moment of like, hey, these guys are just kind of at the periphery of each other right now, but pretty soon they're going to be very, very involved with each other.
Yeah, I thought that was nice in general too, just to get like the foreshadowing of Boba Fett going to be a problem later coming in there.
Yeah.
And he looks cool. He looks cool in the manga style as well.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see him in action.
I mean, this might be like the coolest Boba Fett action we've ever seen, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, could be.
I can't wait. I'm pumped to read the next one, and we won't be reading that for next episode, but the episode after that, we'll read the Empire Strikes Back one.
You know, I'll read what I want when I want. How about that? How about I do read it for next episode?
You can read it whenever you want. I'm just saying.
I'll force you to discuss it next episode. I'm going to force you to.
Okay.
With my force abilities. Except it's words coming out of your mouth to converse with me.
No, I really like the part when they were on Hoth and they...
As if I need my force abilities to get that out of you. Come on.
No, you don't at all. Anything else about these, or should we move on to the video games for today?
No, these are cool. I would buy the manga just to flip through, have a physical copy. I feel like that'd be fun.
Me too.
Or if there's one hardcover that contains the three of them, that would be my dream. But that probably doesn't exist.
Maybe. I'll have to look that up.
I don't know.
Okay, so we have some video games that we did not play, but we watched videos of for today. Which one would you like to talk about first, Ryan?
Well, the first one that I looked at was the arcade one, so maybe we can go there.
Okay. This one I actually have played because many times, you know, I'm sure you had this experience as well, but birthday parties at, you know, either an arcade or a laser tag or bowling place or whatever. A few times, there was this place called GameWorks at the mall, Easton Mall in Columbus, Ohio. GameWorks does not exist anymore. It's now like a Lego interactive, like miniature indoor theme park. But it was a big arcade, and it was really a good one. And I still went there in like high school and stuff too, because it had like a somewhat nice restaurant and then like a bar and then this massive arcade area. And wow, great. I can't believe they got rid of GameWorks, but
bummer, dude.
But one of my favorite things there was this Star Wars Trilogy arcade. Whenever it was at somewhere, at any arcade, I would definitely try to play it. Super fun, made by Sega in 1998. What did you think? This look fun to you?
It looked like a fun game. The thing I most wanted to try of it all, just probably because it seemed a little more different from some of the stuff we've done so far, was, and I forget which of the levels it was at, but you got to like fight against Vader, and it was like you had to go this way, go that way, go this way. It looked like a simple little mini game, but yeah, of it that stood out to me just being the most like different from what we've seen so far, because otherwise it seemed like kind of typical arcade, I don't know, third person shooter style. Would you call it that? Because I don't know what you call it when it's like ships and whatnot, but
Yeah, but there was some first person on the ground stuff too.
oh, okay, maybe I missed that. I just watched someone like play it for like 30 minutes. Was there a level that you would tend to go to always, or if you play it at the actual arcade, you have to like go in order?
No, you can pick which of the three you want to do, but if you beat all three, then you get the Death Star 2 like sequence.
Okay.
But I don't know. I definitely played all of them. I do really like the Hoth one.
Of course.
Just the Hoth battle is super awesome looking all the time, but I think you know, it's not the main focus of the game, but I love the parts where you get out and you're walking around on foot. Like, so the game controls like with a flight simulator type of joystick and a trigger and stuff. And so when you're doing the lightsaber thing, you're like pulling it around to the 8 directions that it can go in.
Gotcha.
But these on rail shooter segment, I mean, I really like those kind of games at arcades anyway, just light gun like House of the Dead and Time Crisis type of games. But I particularly like going through Echo Base because I just feel like it's such a, there's something so satisfying about that, and the fight with Vader, and the one walking around on Endor getting up to the shield generator thing. Like, such faithful 3D model recreations of the scenery that we've seen in the movies, and it just looks so authentic. And they get to the hangar where the Millennium Falcon is, and just snow troopers running around, R2D2 and C3PO like, oh, don't shoot, coming through. It's just great.
Yeah, looks like it'd be a fun arcade game to play. I also will never, I think, maybe I'm saying this prematurely, I haven't played that many games of Star Wars, but I find it hard to believe I'd get tired of taking down AT-ATs on Hoth, That is just like, we've talked about it so much, but that is the moment where, like, when I saw that happen in the movie, I was like, I want to be there. I want to play. Like, I want to join your fight and do this too. And so it's nice that there's a lot of opportunities for it.
I don't blame you. It's awesome. Yeah. The fight against Darth Vader in real life, I always remember being like way harder than it should be. Like, it looks kind of easy on the video. I watched a guy play through it today too, but I always remember like it would show the direction and you would do it and it just wouldn't respond the way you want it to, and you would get hit a lot and be like, but I did it. I put it in the right direction.
Bad force abilities, dude. Some people have it, some people don't.
Some people have bad force abilities.
If you mean bad in the colloquial term of good, then yeah.
Okay, well, you got me there.
Yeah. Sorry, I'd be more dark side than you anyway. I think we've established this.
Yeah, that's okay. I like, being nice and stuff, so.
I'd be good at the end of my life, though, like Ulic and Darth Vader, so it'd be okay.
Yeah, true. So all the bad stuff wouldn't matter anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, all those lives that were lost because of actions Ulic took, they're probably rotting in normal heaven while he's living it up in Jedi heaven, cracking open a... All right.
A cold blue milk?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a Star Wars appropriate drink, but
There's like
Not quick enough
Corellian
with it yet.
cider.
No, all right. Next time I'll say Corellian cider. That's what you'll hear from
Okay.
me next time.
Okay. Cool. Shall we move on to Masters of Teras?
Yeah. I also watched a video on this. This is a pretty disappointing one, I think, because hearing the premise of a Star Wars fighting game actually is pretty interesting. And there is like
Yeah.
a good array of characters that you'd be like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense that like you would put together a Star Wars fighting game with all these characters and you have like two main factions. So it's like kind of perfectly positioned to be an awesome fighting game. It's funny that that is not what this game is.
Yeah. I guess I would compare it to Soul Calibur or Tekken, like those slightly 3D fighting games where you can move on the plane like forward and back and then as well strafe around side to side. I would say visually and like the sounds, the costumes, all that, like pretty strong. Like you said, the selection of characters is pretty cool. I've just heard nothing but bad things about how it actually feels to play this game. And, looking at the fighting gameplay, it looks incredibly clunky. This was developed in-house by LucasArts, and I think that maybe was the biggest issue. They should have gone to... They should have shipped it out to a team that had experience with fighting games. I mean, this was the first fighting game that they had ever tried to make. And those are really hard to make. They're so precise. They're some of the most technically challenging like games to make, I feel like, to actually balance and make fun. Like that's so hard. And there's a reason why
they probably also I don't know, I think they ran into issues probably or shot themselves in the foot, I should say, with like trying to do too much premise stuff in it, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, the setup is that like after the Death Star, Palpatine's like looking, I forget what it is, like looking into these warriors who know that style, because the subtitles is just the style of combat that they're talking about. So
yep, Teras Kasi.
Yeah, so it's like just use what you already have to make a cool Star Wars fighting game. Like you didn't need to try and build it into this, like, because it starts to be like, oh, I don't know, it starts to feel like flimsy to me. But I guess this one is also not meant to be part of the canon, or at the time, no,
I don't think it ever. I don't think it was ever really part of canon. But it's got Arden Lin, who is like this woman who the Emperor calls upon, like you said, to assassinate key members of the Rebel Alliance. She's like the one who's super trained in Teras Kasi. I mean, there's not too much story to it, but there's some interesting character inclusions. She's the main original character, but then we've got like Thok and Hor. Thok is a Gamorrean guard, and Hor is a Tusken Raider. But then we've got Mara Jade as one of the secret unlockable characters. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah, she's just a reskin of Luke, but still cool to have her around in a game.
By the way, can I tell you something that popped up in my my TikTok feed about Mara Jade that I quickly had to swipe away from?
Sure.
And I don't. Maybe there's nothing you can tell me about it, but it was like George Lucas freaks out over Mara Jade.
Yeah.
But then that's all I saw. I just saw him like about to say something, then I was like, oh, gotta go. But
that would be okay for you to see. You just probably wouldn't know what was going on. It's a joke. It's like a behind the scenes moment from the Robot Chicken Star Wars parodies that they made. And it's a joke where this guy goes like, so as the creator of Mara Jade, like, how do you feel about blah, blah, blah? And George Lucas is like, wait, I am not the creator of Mara Jade. I don't give a shit about Mara Jade. I am not the creator of Mara Jade. Get out. I want him out of my office. Out. And all that. That's all it is.
Okay, gotcha. Wow, we've got a lot of like parody stuff to get into in the future, don't we? I know there's Family Guy, there's Robot Chicken. I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah, those are the two big ones, but there's some more. Those are the ones that we'll definitely check out for the show. I mean, I'm sure there could be some other stuff we look at too, but those are like the big official ones.
I wonder if there's any like classic kids cartoons that I used to watch that like did Star Wars parodies, even like smaller within them, that like just went completely over my head when I was younger because I was not tuned into it at all.
Muppet Babies has some Star Wars episodes. I don't know if you watched that.
No, I haven't. I didn't know Muppet Babies was a show. I only knew of it because there's a Marvel omnibus for Muppet Babies.
Wow, I did not know that. But yeah, it was a cartoon. And they had some Star Wars episodes. I think they had like a 2-part Star Wars parody thing.
A Muppet Star Wars like crossover sounds like it could be really fun. So
yeah, I've never seen it. Maybe that would be fun to check out for like a bonus episode or something. But I've also never watched the Muppet Babies show, so maybe that would be a weird one to jump into.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, I've watched a lot of Muppet stuff, but no Muppet Babies.
But you're too cool for Muppet Babies.
I didn't say I was too cool for it. I just haven't seen it. I'm not against watching it.
All right.
And then the other weird character inclusion in this is Jodo Cast, who's just a reskin of Boba Fett, quite literally. But do you remember Jodo Cast? He was in the comic book Twin Engines of Destruction that we read, where that guy is impersonating Boba Fett. For whatever reason, they decided to include him in this, and I think the reason is because it is very easy to just slightly change the color palette of a character that you've already created and say, hey, there's a new secret character.
Isn't he dead?
Yeah, well, not at this time.
No. All right.
But I was about to say those are his only 2 appearances, but that is not true.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Jodo Cast with a comeback. Okay, I'm excited for the future Jodo Cast content that we're going to get into. One of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I mean... Whoa.
Maybe a hot take, but I think Jodo Cast is cooler than Darth Vader.
Wow. That's a very hot take.
I mean, name one character that is not as cool as Jodo Cast.
I think like Dengar is probably cooler than Jodo Cast.
Oh, by the way, you know what we didn't mention about the first Terrible Shadows of the Empire comic? Doesn't like Dash Rendar show up at the end?
Yes.
We totally forgot.
Oh my god, he's alive!
Like, yeah. Sorry to like go all the way back to that, but you just made me think of that. It's a dumb little sequence anyway, where he's like sitting at the table. It's I'm Dash Rendar. Oh my god!
It's implying that like he and Guri are gonna like hook up, and I don't know.
Well, there's gonna be. That's why I also thought there'd be more Guri in the future because of that. The implications seem to be they go on a little adventure together, but I guess I'm glad that never happened.
Yeah, who needs that? All right, well, we're wrapping it up here. We just quickly talk about Star Wars Rebellion, 1998 real-time strategy game released for PC. This is like the first big grand strategy Star Wars game, and there will be a few of these that come out.
Okay, I'm excited to play one of those.
Yeah, there's one that I think is more easily accessible to get running on modern computers and stuff, so we should check that one out.
Yeah, the gameplay of this one that we looked at looked really complex, but it looked really fun too. It looked like there's a lot of variation for what you can do also, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's essentially a fully menu-based game, but the menus look very nice. You take on the role of the Empire or the Rebels, and yeah, your campaign is just to like take over planets. And you can amass fleets, you can assign roles, you can recruit, you can go on little missions, you can train Jedi. I don't know. It looks like it would be too overwhelming for me personally. But I know a lot of people love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I watched someone playing it, and I think what they said is like this is one of those older games where you have to actually go like read the manual before you start playing, so you have like an actual idea of what the hell you're doing. Which yeah, can be a time suck, but games like that can also be like some of the most fulfilling of games. So I
Yeah,
can see going either way.
I agree. I'm sure one day I will try and dive into it and give it a go.
Yeah, see how you do out there in the galaxy. See what kind of diplomacy you're able to branch out with.
We will see. I don't know. I would be more inclined to play like one that's like more real-time strategy like StarCraft where it's like ground combat with Star Wars stuff.
Okay.
But that does exist, so
Sounds like there's like a Star Wars game that fits the niche of like every single gaming genre out there, honestly.
yeah, which well, you're right, but unfortunately like Masters of Teras is like the only fighting game, um, which kind of sucks because I think that could be really good, but
Well, you know what's funny? I'm like I don't know which because you mentioned it earlier, it made me think of it. Now I'm like locking in this memory. I think this is a truth. I'm pretty sure because you know when Blockbuster was around, my brother and I used to go and like just rent games like every week. Very fun.
I think
And
I
we
know
picked
what you're
up
about to talk about. But
Soul
yeah,
Calibur.
yep,
Okay, yeah, is Yoda's in one of those games? Is he not?
he is. So there were two versions. I think this was Soul Calibur 4 or 5. I don't remember, but two versions. One with Darth Vader and one with Yoda as playable characters.
Oh,
In it.
they had Darth Vader in it too. Maybe if I had
Hmm.
gotten the glimpse of Darth Vader in action, I'm assuming he's got his lightsaber in that game. I could have been turned to Star Wars fan at a much younger age, but Yoda, I guess, didn't do it for me.
Well, that's okay. I mean, they're just little cameo characters in those games, but I think that's like the closest thing we get to good Star Wars fighting game action.
No Star Wars characters in any Mortal Kombat game, I assume.
No,
All
there.
right.
You know, Brawlhalla.
Yeah.
There is Star Wars stuff in that, so I guess
Really?
technically, yeah,
Characters?
yeah. There's like a whole Star Wars version of Brawlhalla. Apparently, I've never
Oh,
played it, so I don't really know what I'm talking about.
okay. Good to know.
But yeah, um,
Very nice. Very
yeah,
good
yeah.
one use of the soundboard this episode.
Well, I again forgot to download more sounds for it. So,
Well,
shall we discuss next time?
let's shall.
Okay, let's shall. Um, so next time, episode 23, we will be talking more video games. No,
More Star
comic
Wars.
books. Um,
Isn't it fun how we're kind of a comic podcast at the moment? I mean, really,
yeah,
like we just read comics mostly right now.
I know. I mean, it might be absolutely throttling the amount of people who want to listen to it, but I like talking about them with you, so I want to keep doing it. But
Well, hey,
um,
I mean, yeah, no complaints here. You know, I enjoy my fair share of comics as well.
and I think it's a good way to really get the full experience. And eventually we're gonna just turn into a Clone Wars TV show podcast for quite a while, so that'll be
Yeah.
but you know that's pretty popular, so maybe people will want to listen to that more. But yeah, more comics this time. We only have 2 more episodes before the Phantom Menace. That's 3 episodes from now.
I'm
Um,
scared.
I'm a little scared too, but I'm excited. uh, so for this upcoming time, we have a little mini series, Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand.
Okay.
Mara Jade
Ooh,
focused.
flashback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very
So
cool.
this is actually during her time of being in service to the Emperor, as the title implies, but that should be
Yeah.
cool. I did read this in high school, and I remember thinking it was cool, but I thought pretty much everything was cool then. So I we'll see.
But it'll be good. We'll get to see what Luke actually took from Mara. Why she's so angry with him.
Yeah, yeah. Um. Well, we know that he took away her Emperor.
No, but I mean in the sense of like what her day to day was that she was so attached to that her life is so much worse now with Talon Card. Oh my god, I forgot about that guy. He's so great too. Okay.
Yeah, what a baller. We've also got Jedi Academy Leviathan, which we mentioned before. This is our final comic book from Kevin J. Anderson, so we'll have to really relish and take our time with that one because he's going to be gone after this.
Does he stop writing for Dark Horse?
No. Well, yeah, he stops writing for Star Wars at least.
Are you Googling, does Kevin J. Anderson die after writing the last Star Wars comic?
I was just reading if he was still alive. He is still alive.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. I like him a lot.
He's still writing, well, I don't know about still, but as late as 2012, he was still writing Dune books with Brian Herbert.
Whoa, okay.
So, yeah, he wrote a bunch of those extra Dune books.
The ones regarded as not as great?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, all right, you win some, you lose some. You lose out in the world of literary fiction, but win out in the world of comic book fiction.
Hey, he's written some X-Files things that people really like as well, I guess. And he's also written original fantasy novels that are pretty well regarded.
All right, a lifelong writer.
Yeah. And then we will have the sequel to Crimson. God, I always do this when I read this. Crimson Empire. Crimson Empire 2. Crimson Empire.
Crimson Empire.
Council of Blood. Council of Blood.
What is our main character's name there again? Is that Jax?
Carnor Jax is the bad guy.
Oh.
The good guy is... Oh, it's alliterative.
Come on, Mr. Memory.
Ah, why can't I think of it?
Donita.
It's Tot Donita. Oh no, what is it? It's like a weird name.
A lot of them are, to be fair.
No. Kier Kanos. Kanos. God.
Well, KK. Big, well, okay. Kier Kanos.
Yeah, careful. He'll be back. And then we will take a look at this one. We'll also just watch a video of because it's a children's educational game, but it's pretty fun. So we should just check it out briefly. It's called Droid Works. And then there's also a book that if we can track it down online easily enough would be really fun to look at, I think. Star Wars Incredible Cross Sections. Big cross sections of buildings and ships and things about, explaining the interior design of the Star Destroyer and things like that. So that could be fun to take a look at too.
Okay, yeah, cool. I almost thought you were going to say it was something like a spin-off of something I had as a kid, which was like a shark anatomy book, but like there was an actual kind of toy shark popping out of the book, and as you turn the pages, you'd be peeling back layer and layer of its skin and organs.
That's cool.
And bones, yeah. So I thought it'd be something like that for, I don't know, maybe they got a do-back book like that out there,
They definitely might. I feel like I had something like that too, but
there was a spider one too because my sister had that. So I think it was like a franchise of those books. You probably did.
Nice. I had one that was cool that was like a ancient Greek architecture, and it would have like this transparent panel of like what it used to look like, and then you would flip it and it would be like the ruins that are left and stuff.
Oh, that is really cool.
But no, I'm pretty sure this is mostly like mechanical stuff. And could be fun. I included it because I remember checking this out from the library when I was a kid and just poring over this for a long time. I don't know how much there'll be to actually talk about, but I think it'd be fun to look at regardless.
Yeah, I'm game if it's easily accessible online. I'm sure it is somewhere.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's it for now. Thanks for listening, everybody. And, hey, we haven't shouted out Life Day in a while, so have a good Life Day, guys.
A great life day.